terms called service, protocols, and interfaces. Someone can tell what is protocol?
So protocol is a set of rules that the layers have to follow in order to communicate with each other.
Very good, very good. What is service?
So
Someone can answer.
the layers, for example, the immediate layer, the layer below the immediate layer, they show what functions they can perform through their services,
Very good, very good. What is interface?
and they show their services through the layer interface.
Yes. So a particular layer will show what are the services that it can offer to its immediate higher layer through interface. Very good. So those are the three fundamental terminology that one needs to understand so that it's easy to understand the reference models, which are very, very important in network designs. Is that slide is visible to you now?
No, sir.
Not yet, sir.
Okay. Hope it should be visible now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, very good. So let us start with OSI reference model. So there are three reference models we are going to discuss. One is ISO OSI, TCP/IP, and ATM reference models. So the ISO OSI reference model is the very, very fundamental one. So which we everyone should understand this. It's an ideal reference model. So sometimes we do not follow exactly as it is for practical network designs. However, it's very important to understand the way that we can design the network. So let us start with what do you mean by this open system interconnection? Why it is called as a open system interconnection model? Because it allows it's the systems which wants to communicate all they are open to participate in the network. That's the inner meaning of the OSI reference model. So this reference model is created to standardize the rules of networking. Okay, so in order to a system can communicate with other systems in the network.
Your voice is breaking in between.
Yeah. So the other important thing is that in networking, the devices, the network connecting devices, and the network devices, and the devices which we use to communicate are manufactured by different manufacturers. In spite of all that differences in manufacturing, so one should be able to participate in the network. Okay, so in order to achieve that, some sort of rules and regulations should be there, so which are defined as a part of this OSI reference model. So what it addresses? So the first thing that OSI model addresses is how a device on the network sends its data and how it knows when to send and where to send. So this is what OSI model can address. Similarly, how a device on the network receives the data and how and where it should look for. So where is the data? How devices using different languages can communicate each other. We have seen one example in the last lecture. One is a Japanese, another is English. Still, they are able to communicate each other. So, in spite of different languages that the users use, they can communicate each other. And how these devices in the network should be connected
So your
physically.
voice is
Yeah, what can I do for that? Can someone suggest?
Sir, I'm not able to understand anything because your voice is breaking a lot.
No, that is what you suggest me what I can do.
No, it is fine for us, sir.
Sorry?
It is fine for us, sir.
No, your voice I am unable to understand.
There is no problem from us. I mean, for me, sir.
Then it's a problem of your end. Those who are suffering, those who are unable to receive my voice, it is a problem from your end then. Okay. So the next one is how protocols work with devices on the network to arrange the data. Okay. So finally, when the user is sending the data at the receiving end, we expect in the same order, in the same way. So how these things happens and how protocols achieves this. So the fundamental principle of this OSI reference model, the first one is a layer should be created where there is a different abstraction that is needed. See here, so the protocol stack, this reference model consists of the a stack of layers. So there will be 7 layers that we have in ISO OSI model. So why it is only 7 layers? Because it should not be too high or it should not be too less. Okay, so wherever there is a necessity of defining a layer, so there only we should make a layer. Otherwise it is the coordination between the layers itself is challenging, and each layer should be defined with the predefined functions. Okay, so what exactly that layer is doing, there should not be any ambiguity. Okay, so a layer X, when you say that, you should clearly define its functions, so there should not be any ambiguity. So the functions of each layer should be chosen with an eye toward defining the internationally standardized protocols. Okay, so the functions that you are defining at each layer should be standardized internationally. There are regulatory bodies, so these functions should be standardized by that regulatory bodies. So it is not that you define your own functions. It's not like that, because end of the day you are participating in the network, so everyone should have that functions. Okay, so that's why it should be standardized. The fourth point is the layer boundary should be chosen to minimize the information flow across the interfaces. Okay, so a layer X, it is defining some functions and implemented, and it offers services to its immediate higher layer. So that offering the services, the information about the services that it can offer should be as precise as possible. Okay, so the higher layer should come to know with minimum information flow across the interface. Okay, so in simple terms, the menu card should be precise and clear, so there should not be any ambiguities. It should be very, very precise. The last point is the number of layers should be too large, should be large enough so that more functions should not be in the same layer. At the same time, small enough so that the architecture doesn't become complex. So in the sense, the number of layers here we are taking as a 7, because if you go more number of layers, then each layer will be assigned with only less number of functions. At the same time, if I come down below 7, then more number of functions has to be accommodated at a particular layer. Okay, so this should not happen. So the optimum number of layers here, it is 7. Any doubts on this before going to the actual reference model? So why we have to study this OSI model? It's like, you take it as granted that it is like Bhagavad Gita, Quran or Bible. So such importance that we have for this reference model in network designs. So sometimes it's very difficult to follow, right? But however, it's an ideal thing to be followed. So I'm taking 2 devices which are connected, A and B. So obviously they should travel through, the data should travel through communication subnet where the routers are sitting. You can observe here 2 routers I am showing, right? So 2 routers I am showing here, but however there are multiple routers in the communication subnet. Here you can see there are 7 layers at each host. The protocol stack starts from layer 1, physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport, session, presentation, and application layers. So these are the 7 layers that we have, and between the successive layers there is an interface, as we have seen in the layered structure. And you can see here the application layer of device A is virtually connected with application layer of device B. So this dotted arrow marks indicates that there is a virtual connection. Okay, so Why it is considered as virtual connection? Because as a user, whatever you type, so immediately you will get a response from your friend. So you feel that you are directly connected with your friend, but actually what is that? Actual path is this. So the application data, the user data comes to application layer process it, and it adds its header, and it gives to the presentation layer. Presentation layer will perform certain functions, and it adds its header, and it will be given to session layer, and so on and so forth. Okay, so at each layer there will be some processing that happens, and the details will be appended as a header. So when it comes to physical layer, so how many headers you can expect? Application layer header, presentation layer header, session layer header, transport layer header, network layer header, and data link layer header. So all these headers will be appended to the actual data, and it is given to physical layer. Even the physical layer also is going to append its header. Okay, so one specialty of data link layer is that apart from header, it also appends trailer. Okay, so that is called encapsulation. So this process, so at each layer there is some processing that happens on the user data, and the details will be appended as a header, which we call it as encapsulation. Obviously at the receiving end you have to perform the reverse procedures, okay, in the reverse order. So here at the sender side you have done, let's say, multiplexing. So then here first you have to do demultiplexing here. If you do modulation, so at the receiving end you have to do demodulation. Okay, so the exact reverse procedures in the reverse order you should do at the receiving end. So now the physical layer, after performing its operations, it removes its header, and the rest of the thing it will give it to data link layer. So data link layer will do the reverse procedures of what it that have been done here at the sender side. The exact reverse procedures will happen here, and it will remove its header, and the rest will be given to network layer, and so on and so forth. Finally, the application layer, it processes its functions and removes header, and the rest will be given to the user. So that is how the data flows through the physical link. Got it? So this procedure where the layers will remove or do some processing and remove their headers, and the rest will be given to higher layer. So this procedure is called decapsulation. Okay, so there is encapsulation at the sender side and decapsulation at the receiving end. So now these virtual connections I told you, it is the connection between peer entities. So you can see here the session layer of device A and the session layer of device B, they feel that they are directly connected, but exactly it's not so. And now coming to this middle part where the routers, okay, the intermediate routers are implemented with only 3 layers. So there is no application, presentation, session, and transport layers. Instead, we are limited with 3 layers, the bottom 3 layers, which are network, DLL, and physical layers. Because as I told you, the intermediate nodes, that is routers, they do not generate the data. Instead, they forward the data. They are just forwarding devices. So that's the reason why the higher 4 layers are not implemented in the routers. Okay, so yes, that is about this ISO OSI model, which is very, very important. So now we'll go in defining the functions at each layer. Okay, so there are 7 layers. So the bottommost one is called layer 1. Okay, so when you read the textbooks or any articles, journal articles, they say that layer 2. So when you say layer 2, it is implied that they are talking about data link layer. So when they talk about layer 3, it is network layer. So like that. Okay, so the layer numbering starts from bottom instead of top. So this is another representation. You can see here the data that we deal with at the physical layer is in terms of bits, and the data that we deal at data link layer is in terms of frames. Similarly, at the network layer, it is packets, and at the transport layer, the data is handled in terms of usually segments or datagrams, depends on the kind of protocol. There are two prominent protocols at the transport layer, so which is TCP protocol and UDP protocol. So when you use TCP as a transport layer protocol, it is called, the data is said to be in segments. When you use the UDP as a transport layer protocol, the data is defined in terms of user datagrams. Okay, so that is segments or datagrams. So under the session layer, presentation layer, and application layer, so we call it as protocol data unit. Okay, so application protocol data unit, presentation protocol data unit, session layer protocol data unit, similarly transport layer protocol data unit. This protocol data unit is a general term, but so if you want a specific, then you have to look at the kind of protocol that you have used at the particular layer. Accordingly, you can deal with the data. Yeah, let's come to the functions of each layer. Let us start with the physical layer. So as I told you, at the physical layer, data is handled in terms of bits. So for the physical layer, the data that it comes is from data link layer, right? So what you get from data link layer? So exactly you get frames, because at the data link layer, data is defined in terms of frames. So you will get frames. Input for the physical layer is a frame. However, physical layer handles the frame in terms of a bit stream. So now these bits will be transmitted through the physical medium. So the physical layer is the one who exactly physically connected to the network, I mean a medium, right? So here, if it is a wide medium, then it is maybe coaxial cable or copper cable or twisted pair cables or optical fiber cable. So how you are sending this bit stream on the medium. So when you are sending on the medium, so you should define the representations, right? So what should be the voltage level I should use for binary 1, similarly for binary zeros. So what is the time durations? Okay, what are the amplitudes for the representations of binary 1 and binary 0? So that are all the responsibilities of physical layer. Okay, this is called line coding functions. So we'll discuss in detail what are the different line coding techniques that we have, and how we can represent these binary ones and zeros. For the time being, you mind that the physical layer is responsible to represent the voltages and timings for the bits that it is transmitting through the medium. Second one is data link layer. So at the data link layer, data is handled in terms of frames. The data that comes from network layer is made into frames. As I told you, the specialty of DLL is, apart from header, it also adds trailer. You can see here. So at the end of the frame, you can also see the trailer. So after making a frame, it will give it to physical layer. So here you can see that the physical layer, okay, so the physical layer is responsible to transmit the data bits to the next node. It is not this physical layer of sender is not responsible to transmit the data till the receiver. Okay, so it is responsible to deliver the bits to its next node. So that node can be a router. Same way, data link layer also is responsible to transmit the frame to the next node. Okay, so that is the next hop. So let you understand what do you mean by hop by hop. So here, so from sender A, machine A to, let's say, DF, you are sending some data. So obviously you have to travel through multiple routers. So this is a communication subnet. So now the physical layer, data link layer, they take responsibility of delivering bits and frames respectively to the next node. So that is the next hop. So that is A to B. So the physical layer of A do not take responsibility of delivering the data to the physical layer of D. Similarly, data link layer of A do not take responsibility of delivering data to data link layer of D and F. Instead, they take responsibility to deliver it to next hop only. It's very, very important. Okay, so next hop. What is that next hop? Hop means jump. So from A, if you take one jump, where you will reach? You will reach the router B. So in summary, what I am trying to say is the physical layer and data link layer of machine A takes responsibility to deliver the data only to the next hop, which is the router in this example. And data link layer is further divided into two sublayers called medium access control and logical link control. So these are the two sublayers of data link layer. So medium access control is connected with physical layer on the bottom. On the higher side, the LLC is connected to transport layer. So the medium access control, this sublayer, its functions are, so when multiple devices are connected in the medium, so if more than one device transmits simultaneously, then there is a collision of data in the medium. So that should not happen. So the job of this MAC sublayer is that how to coordinate multiple users which are connected in the medium, how we can coordinate them while transmitting the data to avoid collisions. Okay, so there should not be any collisions. So how to avoid that collisions? So that is the job of this MAC sublayer. There are multiple protocols which we will discuss in detail when we talk about DLL chapter. And on the other side, you have LLC, which is connected to higher layers. So the job of this LLC is it will make sure that the link is connected, established before transmitting the data, and it will manage the link. Okay, so there should not be any link breaks. If there is any link breaks, then how to troubleshoot that. And finally, after data transmission, so how you can terminate the connection. So there's a job of LLC apart from how it coordinate with the transport layer, network layer. Okay. Now coming to network layer. So the data at the network layer is in terms of packets. So the network layer takes responsibility of delivering the individual packets from source host to the destination host. So here there is some difference from the previous two layers. So the previous two layers takes responsibility of delivering the data to the next hop only, whereas network layer, so it's somewhat better that it takes responsibility from source host to the destination host, in the sense from source mission to the destination mission. Okay, so this is how it takes. So the network layer of mission A, that is sender, takes responsibility of delivering the data from A to F. So here F is the destination mission, and it takes responsibility. So it is taking the whole responsibility. However, you remember that we are not, this network layer is not delivering the data to the user, okay, who is sitting on the destination mission. Instead, it is limited to deliver the packet only till the network layer. So the user data is till the network layer only. Okay, so user directly will not come to know. So this network layer will take responsibility till network layer of the destination mission. So that is important. So you can find the difference now. What is hop to hop delivery and what is source to destination delivery? So physical layer and DLL takes data link layer. In short, I call it as DLL. Okay, which is layer 2. So DLL and physical layer takes responsibility to hop to hop deliveries, whereas network layer, it takes responsibility to source to destination delivery. Source network layer of source mission to the network layer of destination mission. Now coming to transport layer, which is where the data is handled in terms of segments. Okay, so assuming that TCP is used at the transport layer. So if you are using user datagram protocol, then the data I can define in terms of datagrams. Okay, so it takes responsibility of delivering the data or message from one process to another process. So what do you mean by process here? So that's important to understand this. So transport layer, I call it as hero of the layered architecture of OSI model, because it takes responsibility of end-to-end or process-to-process data deliveries. Okay, so you can see process-to-process data deliveries in the sense. So in my laptop, I am using 4 applications. Let us say YouTube and MS Teams and what do you call? Other manipal.edu, like that. There are multiple applications which are running in my laptop. So the application which is under execution is called process, right? So the fundamental definition of process is an application which is under execution. So there are, in this slide, you can see 3 applications are running on this machine. So there are 3 processes. So transport layer takes data deliveries from this process to the corresponding process on the other machine. Okay, so that is called end-to-end data deliveries or process-to-process data deliveries. So where your transport layer takes care of that, whereas network layer, it is host-to-host data deliveries, in the sense the network layer of this machine to the network layer of this machine. That's it. So end-to-end data delivery means process. Okay, so the user application. So whatever I type in a Gmail, let's say, so that is a Gmail chat, right? So that's one process. So you should go to my friend's Gmail chat box. So that is called process-to-process communication. So that is taken care by transport layer. So very, very important. The next one is session layer. Okay, so session layer is responsible for dialogue control. Dialogue control in the sense, when 2 parties are communicating each other, so who has to transmit when? Okay, there should not be any mismatch that both parties, if they start at the same instant of time, it leads to collision. Okay, so the other party cannot listen to it. So when 2 parties are communicating, so party A should talk when, and when it should listen. Similarly, party B, when it should talk and when it should listen. So there should be some coordination, right? So that is called dialogue control. So which is responsibility of session layer, and also synchronization. Okay, so synchronization is when the data that comes from higher layer is made into small parts. Here you can see, here in between there is a sync bits. Okay, so there is a synchronization bits. So when let's say the entire content, instead of transmitting as a stretch, okay, so I make it into 100 for example, I am transmitting 1000 bits. So for every 100 bits, I'll insert certain sync bits. So now if some portion is missed at the receiver, then it's better to transmit from there. Okay, so that's how it helps actually. So instead of retransmitting the whole 1000 bits, for example, some 550 to 560 bits are missed at the receiver. So when I am transmitting 1000 bits, so what I did was, the first choice is I can transmit the whole 1000 bits at a stretch. So during that, what happened? Some 550 to 560 bits are missed or damaged. So you need to retransmit a whole 1000 bits. Instead, what I can do, for every 100 bits, I insert some sync bits. So now 550 to 560 that are missed. So what I can do, 0 to 500, I need not to disturb. Okay, so from 501 onwards, I can transmit. Hope you understand the point. So the synchronization helps you in retransmitting the content from where you have faced damage or missing. Okay, so instead of sending the whole content, so that is synchronization at the session layer. And coming to presentation layer, the responsibility of presentation layer is it's a translation in the sense a mission dependent to mission independent form. So mission dependent means, for example, I can transmit stuff in local languages, right? you can transmit the content in local language. But how computer understand that? So it doesn't know except ones and zeros, right? So whatever you are transmitting, no matter whether it is a text of different languages or it's a audio, video, whatever. So finally, it should be converted into mission independent form. So ASCII format is one of the examples where you can convert into a standard form, which is mission independent. So like that, so mission dependent to mission independent format. So that's called translation. So which is a function of presentation layer. And similarly, compression, in order to reduce the number of bits to transmit, so you can compress the data to a certain extent. Obviously, you should perform decompression algorithm at the receiving end. And also encryption if you want. So it's a part of security. So when you want secure transmissions, you have to use encryption algorithm. Similarly, decryption algorithm at the receiving end. So translation, compression, and encryption are the functions of presentation layer. Finally,
so everywhere, like in the previous slides also, there's this thing called as H6, H5, like written in red. What is that exactly?
That's a header. Header, as I told you, header at the 6th layer. So presentation layer is the 6th layer, right? So session layer is 5th layer. So as I told you, as a part of encryption at every layer, we do some functions, some processing that happens, and the details of that processing will be appended as a header. H for header and 6 for the layer number. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Next is the last layer is application layer, above which the user is sitting. So you can see here there are multiple protocols that you can use based on the application that you are using it. For example, I am browsing it, so www is required along with HTTP. So like that. So if I am using a simple mail transfer protocol, SMTP is required. So based on the user application, the protocol is used at the application layer. So there are plenty of application protocols that we can find. So the job of the application layer is it should provide services to the user ultimately, and the content it process some functions which are defined based on the application, and that processed data is given to the presentation layer. So this is the summary of our discussion about physical layer. So physical layer is responsible to transmit the bits over the medium. So if it is a copper cable, if it is a wireless medium, that is also possible, right? For wireless communications, the medium is air, so that is a radio channel. Or if it is optical fiber cable, so how exactly you are representing these bits and transmitting these bits over this medium. So, and what are the voltage levels that you are using to represent these binary bits, and what are the bit durations? So that is one function, one of the functions at physical layer. Apart from that, it is also responsible for physical connection setup and release. Okay, so before transmitting your data, and mechanical, electrical, and timing interfaces. That is what I said. Mechanical in the sense of the physical medium, the stability for that wire. Okay, so the mechanical structures, so that it withstands for the damages. And electrical, that is a bit durations and voltages. Okay, timing interfaces, that is a bit durations. Next one is a data link layer. As I told you, data is in the form of frames. So how exactly you are transferring the frames between the corresponding data link layers of the two machines, and also responsible for flow regulations. Flow regulations in the sense fast sender and slow receiver. Okay, how to coordinate these two guys. Okay, so the sender is fast and receiver is not enough to receive the data at the same rate. Okay, so how we can manage this situation? So that is called flow control. And the MAC sublayer, I told you how you can share the medium among multiple users so that they can transmit the data without any collisions. So there's a MAC sublayer. And the network layer, data is in the form of packets, and it takes responsibility of delivering the packets from sender's network layer of the sender mission to the network layer of the destination mission. And the other main function of this is routing. Okay, so the job of the routing is the packet comes through the one of the input layers and it executes the routing algorithm and decides which is the best output line to forward the packet. So that's the job of the routing. And apart from routing, it also takes care of congestion control and quality of services. So congestion control is in the communication subnet at a particular router. So there is a bottleneck conditions. So like maybe that router is giving the shortest path. Obviously, all the packets wants to go through that particular router. So in that case, what happens? There is a congestion that occurs at that router input lines, right? So then what will happen? The router cannot handle the packets because of higher traffic. So then you should resolve it, right? So you should divert the traffic through alternate paths. So that is called congestion control. How we can achieve that, we'll discuss in detail the algorithms and all in the network layer chapter. And the quality of service, so it is something called for my data transmissions, I want some VIP treatment. In the sense, so my data transmission should be such a way that there should not be much delay in the transmissions. Okay, so delay should be very minimum, and I want higher bandwidth, okay, for my data transmissions, and less jitter. Jitter means the variations of the packet bits at the receiver. Okay, so when I receive packet, what it means? It means ideally all the packet bits will be received at the same instant of time. Okay, so I have received, let's say, some 10th second. I have received a packet at 10th second. What it means? All the packet bits you are receiving exactly at the 10th second. So what is the reality? The reality is that you don't receive all packet bits at the same instant of time. Instead, there is some time duration for between the first packet bit and the last packet bit. Okay, so the last bit of the packet, okay, the first bit of the packet and the last bit of the packet. So there is some time duration. So this time duration should be uniform at least. Okay, so then jitter is less. But sometimes what happens, let's say some 1000 bits is one packet. The first 100 bits you will receive at regular times, and after that some gap it comes, and after that 101 to 150 again there is some gap, then 151 to 200, like that. So the variations among the bit arrivals at the receiver is varying. Okay, the bit arrival times is varying. That is called jitter. That's called jitter. Ideally, jitter should be 0. So these are some quality of service parameters. So for my data transmissions, I expect this. Okay, so quality of service. Then the transport layer, data is handled in terms of segments or datagrams. Transport layer takes responsibility of end-to-end data deliveries or process-to-process data deliveries. So it can offer two kinds of services. One is connection oriented and connectionless. So if it is connection oriented, then it addresses the error detection and recoveries and also the flow control. So as I told you at the DLL, we address this function flow control. Same thing is addressed at the transport layer also. Then it is achieved with the TCP, transmission control protocol, and it also transport layer also offers connectionless services where there is no need of connection that you need to establish. Instead, straight away you can transmit your data. So which UDP is used, user datagram protocol. The session layer, we have covered this, right? So it establishes session between two parties, and dialogue control, token management. So dialogue control is achieved through token management, in the sense, so when two parties are attempting to talk, then token should be used. So whoever is having token, then they only can transmit. So like that. And the synchronization, as I told you, for long transmissions, you put some checkpoints. So that is called sync bits. So you insert certain sync bits so that you can transmit only the data from where you have received as damaged or with errors. Next one is a presentation layer. It is responsible to convert data mission dependent to mission independent. Right. So, and also it takes care of syntax and semantics of the information that you are transmitting. Right. Yeah. So different characters, integer representations. Okay, different systems use different codes. So all that compatibility will be taken care by presentation layer. And the application layer, yes, it provides the services to the user applications with different protocols. Any doubts on the functions of layered stack?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So we know that the transport layer operates on process-to-process basis. So
Yes.
above the transport layer, the session, presentation, application, actually all of these are running inside a given process on the host or the receiver, right?
Yes.
Okay, got it, sir.
So now let us understand what is encapsulation and decapsulation. You can see here at every layer, so the user data comes to application layer. Application layer adds its header by performing certain operations, and that is given as input to the lower layer, which is sixth layer, which is presentation layer. Presentation layer performs certain functions and add the details of that processing as H6. Then it gives to session layer. Session layer also performs some functions and adds as a header. So this is application layer. H6 is presentation layer. H5 session layer. H4 transport layer. H3 network layer. H2 data link layer. You can see apart from header, you can also see the trailer at DLL. Okay, that's a special thing that we can see at DLL. And finally, the physical layer adds its header, and the binary stream, binary ones and zeros will be represented using some voltages and time bit durations, and it is transmitted through the medium. And at the receiving end, you can see the reverse procedures that occurs. So each layer will do reverse procedures with respect to the sender, and they remove their headers before delivering to the higher layer. Okay, so like that the decapsulation is performed, and finally the user content will be delivered to the user machine. So this is the summary of our discussion about the functions at different layers. You can see physical layer is responsible for bit duration, the representation of bit voltages and durations, and also it is responsible to deal with the physical medium that is connected with the device. And data link layer, again it takes hop-to-hop deliveries, flow control, error control also to certain extent it takes care of. Data is in terms of frames. Network layer, data is in terms of packets, and the routing is the main function at the network layer. Apart from that, congestion control and quality of service. Transport layer takes data deliveries from process to process, right, or end to end. So it also does certain error recovery procedures. So we'll see how it happens. And the session layer, it establishes the session between the two devices, two applications, and it manages this session. So like using token management and dialogue controls, and terminate the sessions. Presentation, it translation. So translation means mission dependent to mission independent, compressing and encryptions. application layer, it allows the users to access different kinds of applications, the services given by the application layer. Yes. Yeah. So here you can see this represents at different layer what is the format of data. You can see here the layer 1 physical layer data is in terms of bits, layer 2 data link layer data is in terms of frames, and at network layer data is in terms of packets, and the segments at the transport layer. So if you use UDP, segments can be replaced with the datagrams, and the higher layers data, which we call it as protocol data unit or simply data itself. So that's one thing I want to tell you in this. And the other thing is that there are different kinds of addressings we use. So here if you see the physical address, so physical address is nothing but a MAC address, so which we use at MAC sublayer, and the IP address or the logical address which we use at network layer. Okay, so two addresses, and also here transport layer we call it as port address. Port addressing is used at the transport layer, and at the application layer application specific address. So there are 4 different kinds of addressings that we use: application specific addresses, port addresses at the transport layer, IP address or logical address at the network layer, and a physical address or MAC address at the DLL. Okay, so now another important thing that you should remember is that when I move from lower layer to the higher layers, the implementations, there is some changes in the implementations. Okay, so the bottom layers are implemented with hardware, the top layers are implemented with software. Okay, so you can see the application layer, for example, encryption algorithms are implemented with software programs. So same way for presentations. Okay, so and session layer, all the responsibilities, this green color, thick green color, the functions of these layers are implemented purely with software programs. And coming to this lower layers below the transport layer, the lower layers is implemented with hardware. Okay, so the implementation, the hardware implementation is very strong at the physical layer, then DLL, and slowly it reduces. Okay, so router, so it's a combination. So less amount of software is also essential, but majority is hardware implementation. And transport layer is like a bridge, so it's a firmware. Okay, so the implementation of transport layer is a firmware. Can someone tell me where exactly this transport layer exists, or data link layer, physical layer in your laptop? Can you identify these layers where they will be exactly?
Sir, is the physical layer the network card that converts the signal into? Oh no.
See, your laptop is participating in the network, so obviously these layers must be there. Okay, so try to identify them where exactly they are sitting in your laptop.
Sir, the Ethernet port.
Ethernet port, very good. So which layers are sitting there?
Physical and data link.
Physical and data link. What about the rest of the layers?
So packet, network layer with the packets is from the Wi-Fi router.
Okay.
The transport would be like the fiber optic or the copper lines which go from the router to the ISP.
No, that is taken care by physical layer only. So physical layer is responsible how your device is connected, with the medium.
Sir, the physical layer will be the Wi-Fi that I'm using. The data link layer and network layer will be taken by the Wi-Fi card, WLAN card that we have, network card, the hardware thing. Transport will be something that's running in the application here, MS Teams. So it's taking care which protocol to use and how to send. And the rest of the presentation session and all that is the GUI I'm seeing in MS Teams and all that.
Okay. So let me give a brief about this. So your see, as I told you, I have given an indirect thing that the quantity of hardware, the hardware implementation is highest at the bottom layer, and it slowly reduces when you move towards higher layers. Same way, the software implementation is strong on the higher layers. Okay. So, and the transport layer is acting as a bridge between these two, which I call it as a firmware. It's a combination of software as well as hardware. So now let us come to the point that data link layer and physical layer are implemented in the hardware. So which you can see in network interface card. Okay, in your laptop there is something called network interface card, NIC. So the DLL and physical layer are implemented using that hardware, and these are software programs. And the transport layer, as I told you, it's a combination of hardware and software. So can you guess that in your laptop, what is that exactly, the combination of software and hardware?
So is it the drivers?
Yes, you are very close. So do you agree that operating system is a firmware? So because it's a sort of the implementation of the operating system is software programs which are used to communicate with the hardware, right? So your operating system helps you helps the user to communicate with the hardware, right? So that is transport layer. Transport layer is sitting in the operating system. So those things you keep in mind. And now let us quickly come to TCP/IP reference model. It's quite easy to understand because ISO-OSA model we have discussed. So the same thing is applicable for TCP/IP. Okay. So why we are going for this TCP/IP, I'll brief out little later after discussing that model, this model, and let's quickly understand what is this TCP/IP model. So the fundamental thing here is there is no DLL and physical layer in the TCP/IP model. Instead, the functions which we have defined at physical layer and DLL are clubbed together, and we have renamed that layer as host to network layer. So this is a host to network layer. It defines what are the procedures that this device, a particular device, can connect to the network. Okay. So host to host means mission, and how you can connect to the network, that is defined using this layer, host to network layer. So whose functions are the functions that we have defined at DLL and physical layer of OSI model. And the network layer, the functions are retained, but the name is renamed it as internet layer. Okay. So but the functions are same. And transport layer is retained as it is without any changes. And the presentation and session layers, these functions of these layers are clubbed with application layer. Okay. So there is no presentation and session layers here. Instead, the functions are clubbed with this application layer. So these are the main changes for this TCP/IP model. Okay, I'll summarize once again. So the functions of data link layer and physical layer are clubbed, and the layer is renamed as host to network layer. So remember, there is no standardized protocols that are present in the host to network layer. Instead, it varies from application to application where you are deploying the network. So there is no standard protocols as such. Okay. So then you may ask the question that then how it becomes a reference model. Reference model means what? One can follow it, right? So that is what a reference means. So you are taking somebody as a reference. It means that you are trying to follow them, right? Fine. So, however, it is against the reference model rules. So that's the drawback of this. And network layer is renamed as internet layer, but the functions are retained. Transport layer is retained as it is, and the functions of presentation and session layer are clubbed with application layer, and these two layers are removed. So why should we do that? Because the implementation, the functions that you are defining at presentation session layer, it doesn't take too much of efforts, in the sense there is no exclusive layers that are required to you. So those functions you can do it at the application layer itself. So you are trying to reduce the number of layers here. Okay, that is also important. So when you are able to implement the functions of presentation session layer at application layer itself, there is no point of defining them as a different abstract layers. Okay. So now coming to the point that why we require this TCP/IP reference model. As already I told that ISO OSA model is like your Bhagavad Gita, Quran or Bible, but why you are talking about some other reference model? As we know that this Bhagavad Gita, all that they say that they say all good things, right, which are ideal, and one should follow it, obviously. But do you think that is it easy to follow the Bhagavad Gita or Bible or Quran? For example, it says that you should never tell lies in life. Is it really easy to follow that? It's very difficult, right? Very difficult. So ideal things are there. So we have to follow, but in reality, so end of the day, real practical things matters, right? So here, even though OSA model is defined, and it is very clear that each layer does what. So the definitions are very clear, but it won't work in practical implementations. Okay, so that's why we are moving towards TCP/IP model. So TCP/IP model is very suitable one to implement in practical networks. Okay, so that's important thing that you should remember. Here I cannot define exclusive protocols, okay, in TCP/IP model, because it varies from application to application. For example, in host to network layer, there is no standard protocols you should use only this. No, it varies from network to network. Yeah, so you see this TCP/IP model representation, where this one is the bottommost one is host to network layer. So where physical layer and DLL functions are clubbed. You can see if you use a LAN, then IEEE 802.3 you have to use here. Okay, if it is a wireless, then wireless protocols you should use. So if it's a satellite network, you have to use satellite network protocols here. So like that, so different based on your application, here the protocols that you use here is varied. It is not the same. And coming to network layer, so this is OSI layers and this is your TCP layers. So this is the internet layer, where internet protocol is the main player in implementing internet layer in the TCP/IP model. And in transport layer, TCP and UDP protocols are the two main players in implementing transport layer functions. And these are the different functions, different protocols that you can use at the application level. Domain name server or domain name system, simple mail transfer protocol, and file transfer protocol. Similarly, telnet. So these are the different application layer protocols. And this is another representation of this. See, always I use ISO OSI model as a reference. You can see here, always we compare, we take these layers in comparing with the rest of the reference models. So that's the importance. Okay, so you can see data link layer, physical layer are clubbed and renamed as host to network layer, and the network layer is renamed as internet layer. So these are some protocols ICMP Internet Control Message Protocols and Internet Group Management Protocols, Address Resolution Protocols and Reverse Address Resolution Protocols. We'll briefly discuss these things in network layer or IP layer and the transport layer. So these are the two protocols, TCP, UDP. Apart from that, SCTP, Stream Control Transport Protocol. And application layer, presentation and session layers are clubbed together, and these are different protocols that are supported by the application layer. And this is another representation. Okay, so TCP, you can see here, application layer, TFTP, FTP, NFS. These are the protocols for email application. Simple mail transfer protocol is a protocol, and for remote login, Telnet, network management, SNMP, simple network management protocol, and name management, that is domain name system. Okay, so these are the different application protocols for different applications. Similarly, transport layer, TCP, UDP. Apart from that, you also have SCTP, which is a stream control transmission protocol, and network layer, which is IP layer, internet layer. So you can see these things. Okay, so RIP, BGP, OSPF. So there are different protocols which we have, which are unicast routing protocols. So this is a routing information protocol, which is unicast routing, and address resolution and reverse address resolution protocols. This gives translation between your MAC address and IP address. For example, you know the MAC address of the machine, but you don't know its IP address, so you can get it. And similarly, you know the IP address of the machine, but you don't know the MAC address. So using this pair of protocols, address resolution and reverse address resolution protocols, you can get the MAC address and IP addresses if you know the other. This is the summary of that. You can read it later, which we have discussed already. So transport layer, TCP and UDP protocols are the two main players. So TCP is a connection oriented protocol, so and it is reliable. So you have to establish the connection before you start transmitting the data. So then after transmitting the data, you have to terminate the connection. Okay, so order of data is guaranteed here, and it's a reliable one, obviously, because you are establishing in prior. And it also addresses the flow control mechanism. The UDP is whenever you don't bear with the delays, then straight away you can transmit your data. So where the datagrams have sender's address and receiver address, and it will be handled in the subnet properly, and hopefully it will be delivered. Okay, so it's, however, it's a connectionless protocol. So there is no prior connection establishment that you require. So usually we go for this UDP when we use multimedia applications where delay is not accepted, for example, for live transmissions. Okay, so where delay is not accepted, so we can go for UDP. And these are some application layer protocols which we have discussed, and I'll let you understand all these things by taking an example. So you see here, this is a mission A, and I am trying to send content to mission B. Okay, so using this layered structure, so how each layer works, we'll see here. So in between A and B, there is, what is this called? This is communication subnet. You can see the routers are sitting here. So the routers are sitting, and this is a communication subnet between sender and the receiver. So now let us understand what happens at the physical layer. So physical layer data is in terms of bits, and the physical layer is responsible to deliver the data to the next hop, right? So it means that the physical layer of device A takes responsibility of delivering the bits to the next hop. Who is the next hop here? This is router 1, right? So the physical layer of router 1. So you can see here. So what happened here? So the physical layer of mission A transmitted the bit stream to the physical layer of router 1. That's all. Then the physical layer of router 1 takes responsibility of delivering this bit stream to the physical layer of router 3, for instance. That is the next hop again. So similarly, router 3 physical layer will deliver the bit streams to the physical layer of router 4. So hop by hop it is going. So finally router 4 will deliver the bit stream to the physical layer of machine B. So this is called hop by hop data deliveries. So that is what happens at the physical layer. Now data link layer. So data link layer, the data is in terms of frames, right? So again, data link layer takes responsibility of delivering the data hop to hop only. It is not end to end, instead it is hop to hop. So it means that DLL of machine A takes responsibility of delivering the frame to the DLL of router 1. You can find that. So it is one hop. DLL of machine A, the frame is delivering to DLL of R1. Similarly, in the next hop, DLL of R1 takes responsibility of delivering the data to DLL of R3. Similarly, DLL of R3 to DLL of R4. Then DLL of R4 to machine B. DLL of machine B only. Okay, it's not to the user. It is just DLL of machine B. That's it. So again, here it is hop by hop data deliveries. Now coming to network layer. So network layer data is in terms of packets, and it takes responsibility of delivering host to host, right? So it means that the network layer of host A to the network layer of host B. It is not that network layer of R1 only. Understand my point? So this is host to host data delivery. Okay. So hop by hop data delivery means network layer of A to the network layer of R1. So that is the next hop. But network layer takes responsibility of host to host, source the machine to destination machine. So how it looks like, you can see here. So what happened here? It is not hop by hop, instead from network layer of machine A till network layer of machine B. So this is not exactly a datagram, it's a packet. Okay. So I hope you understood the difference between hop to hop deliveries and host to host deliveries. Then at the transport layer, we take end to end data deliveries. Okay, so end to end or process to process data deliveries. So you can see here. Okay, so this segment is a right terminology at the transport layer. So again, it takes responsibility of delivering process to process, the content from process to process. And application layer, it takes a responsibility of delivering the data and deliver it to the application layer of the other side. So that is about how exactly your data flows at different layers. You can see here, this is a communication subnet where the routers are sitting. So the bottommost 3 layers only you can see in the routers. So addressing, there are 4 kinds of addressings. That is application specific addresses we use at application layer, port addresses we use at transport layer, logical addresses we use at logical address or IP address, which we use at network layer or IP layer, and physical address or MAC address we use at MAC sublayer. Okay, so these are the 4 kinds of addresses. See here, one thing I want to tell you about the drawbacks of layered architecture is that, see, what is the idea behind a layered architecture? So you are defining, there are different functions in while designing the network. So what you are doing is you are grouping some functions, and that functions you are assigning to a particular layer. So in other words, each layer is meant to execute certain functions. Now addressing is one function. Okay, addressing is one function. So what it does, it should perform that how to address the sender and how to address the receiver in the network. Okay, how to identify them. So that is the job of addressing. So when you are implementing that function, what you are doing, you are implementing that at DLL. You are also implementing addressing at network layer, also transport layer and application. So addressing is one function which you are implementing at 4 layers. So this is against the layered architecture. This is against the rules of the layered architecture. So layered architecture, what it says that when you have one function, you should assign it to a particular layer. So there should not be multiple layers that handle one function. Okay, that is the ideal layered architecture. However, so these are practical cases. So we implement addressing function at 4 layers. Let us see how this addressing works. Now you see there are 4 missions with different addresses. I am taking some decimal number for quick understanding, but actually this is not so. It's a MAC address. MAC address is, so what is the format? You have 48-bit, right? So your MAC address, you can see for your mission, it's a 48-bit. So where it's represented in hexadecimal format, and each 2 hex digits is separated by a colon. So that is how your physical address or MAC address of your laptop. But here I am taking just some decimal numbers. Reality is the addresses, the physical address is length of 48-bit. Fine. So now I have a sender whose physical address or MAC address is 10, and I am trying to send it to a mission whose physical address is 87. So what I do, I keep my frame with sender's address, which is 10, and destination address, which is 87. So all these missions are in a LAN. Okay, so this may be hub or switch. You can take it. So it's supposed to be hub here, because the data is coming to hub now, and from there it goes to all the missions. So it went to mission 28 whose physical address is 28. So the frame is discarded, because what it will do, this mission will compare the physical address present, the destination address present in the frame, and compare with its own physical address. So the destination address is 87, but its address is 28. So there is a mismatch. So it discards. Similarly, it also goes to the other mission. So whose address is 53, it also discards, because there is a mismatch between its address and the destination address present in the received frame. So it discards. So finally, who is going to receive? So the one whose address is matching. You can see its physical address is matching with the destination address present in the frame. So this connecting device is a hub. So whatever is sender is sending, it will be received by all, but no one is going to accept that frame except the receiver mission, because the physical address is matching. So this is how actual physical address looks like. You can see here it's a hex digit representation, each digit corresponding to 4-bit. So like that, each 8-bit is separated by a colon. You can see total 12 hex digits. Each 2 hex digits are separated by a colon. So altogether it's 48-bit. So this is how your MAC address is. Now let us understand the logical address, how it works. So here I am trying to send something from mission A to receiver, which is mission P. Okay, so let you understand what's happening here. So here 20 and 10. So what is this 20 and 10? So those are the physical addresses of machine A and the router. So the input line of the router. Okay, and what is this A and P? These are the logical addresses. Okay, now we are going with the next level of addressing. First, in the previous example, we have seen the physical address, how it works, right? So now apart from physical address, we also have logical address. So now we have physical address along with logical address. So A and P are the logical addresses. A is the logical address or IP address of sender. P is IP address or logical address of the receiver. And this 20 and 10 are 10 is the physical address of sender and 20 is what? It is not the physical address of the receiver. Instead, it is a physical address of the input port of the router one. Okay. So you try to observe carefully and we'll try to draw some conclusion out of this. So now what's happening to your packet? What are the changes that you can observe here? Can someone answer this?
It is updated with the routers.
Yes,
Hello?
yes. So yeah. So here the physical addresses are what? The physical 10 is the physical address of sender and 20 is the physical address of input line of your router one. So because why I am keeping this? Because the physical layer or the DLL will take care of transmitting the frame to the next hop only. So here the next hop is router one. So now the router one, it decides the output line and what's happening when it is forwarding the packet? What are the changes?
It is getting updated with router to like the input of router to address 33 and 99 of router
Yeah,
1.
so the logical address is retained. So there is no changes for the logical address, which is A and P. However, there are changes for the physical addresses. So the sender's physical address is what now? 99. Okay. So the receiver's physical address is what? 33. So which is the input line of router 2. So the output line of router 1 becomes a sender and the input line of router 2 becomes a receiver. And similarly in the next hop you can see what is the change. So 66, which is the output line of router 2, is a sender and the input line is nothing but here it is a host mission. So 95, which is the physical address of receiver, is the destination. So using the physical addresses, you are transmitting the data hop by hop. So for each hop there is a changes in the physical address, but the logical address is retained. So because the logical address is used at the network layer and the network layer takes care of delivering the data from host to host. So that means sender mission to receiver mission. So there is no changes in between to the IP addresses. However, the physical address or MAC address is changing from hop to hop. Let me repeat it so that you can observe it properly once again. You can see 20 and 10. 10 is a sender's physical address, 20 is the next hop. Next hop is input line of the router one. That is your destination because you are responsible only for next hop. Whereas the logical address or IP address, A is the sender's IP address and P is the destination IP address. So for the next hop, the physical address is changed. So sender's physical address is 99, which is output line of router 1, and 33 is input line of router 2. That is your next hop. And this is the third hop where this becomes the sender. Okay, so the physical address 66 is the physical address of the sender, and 95, which is nothing but the physical address of the receiver machine itself. But A and P, there is no change. So the conclusion is that so there is a changes from hop to hop. There is a changes in the physical address from hop to hop, but not the logical address. So now let's come to the port addresses. So you can see there are different applications. Each application is identified with some port number. Okay, so here A is the process. Okay, so A is the process address. Okay, so the port address, which we call it as port address here. So process under execution. Okay, so this A is an application which is under execution, which is assigned with some port number. And transport layer takes care of process to process data deliveries. So that means this from this process to this process. Okay, so for example, manipal.edu, I am browsing manipal.edu. So I will be the client. So this is my process, and manipal.edu server. So that is this process. Okay, so A and J are the port numbers of sender and receiver. And when it comes to network layer or IP layer, so their logical addresses will be appended, right? So A is the application IP address of sender, and P is the IP address of receiver. And here also you can find the physical addresses which are not shown here. Okay, there will be physical addresses also. So you can see here, this is port addresses, port numbers actually, port address, yes. And this is a IP address followed by physical address, which is not shown here. So you can see transport layer is taking care of delivering the data to the receiver process. So that is called process to process data deliveries. So this is the conclusion of this discussion, that physical addresses changes from hop to hop, but not the logical addresses and port addresses. So now let us compare, ISO-OSI model and TCP/IP model. So the ISO model, we have clearly defined the definitions of service, interface, and protocol. Whereas in TCP/IP we cannot do that, because here the layers itself is not standardized, host to network layer. So that is, truly speaking, that host to network layer is not exactly a layer. It's not exactly a layer. So what do you mean by that? Layer means it should be a standardized one. So, and the protocols defined in that layer should be standardized. Whereas in host to network layer of this TCP/IP model is not standardized. The protocols that we are using at that layer is not standardized. Obviously, you cannot say that exactly as a layer. So when you do not able to define a layer, you cannot define these terms. And now coming to the wonder of these two reference models, that the ISO-OSI model, first it is defined. So these are the 7 layers, and these are the functions. Surprisingly, the TCP/IP, the model was not defined first. Instead, the practical things, that is, the network designs were happened and deployed. So based on that experience, we have defined these are the layers and these are the functions of that layers. That's how TCP/IP reference model was derived. So it's a kind of reverse engineering. Okay. So the defining of TCP/IP reference model came into existence. So using the kind of reverse engineering, where the network designs were done first, and after that the model was defined based on that experience. Whereas in ISO-OSI model, it's not like that. First model was defined, but unfortunately it is not suitable for practical implementation. That's a different thing. But model was defined initially. And this difference you can see, it's a 7-layered architecture and it's a 4 layers. Okay, so what are that 4 layers? Host to network layer and IP layer, right? IP layer, transport layer, and application layer. Only 4 layers. And coming to network layer, so ISO-OSI model supports both connectionless and connection-oriented protocol services. Okay, so we have seen TCP, when you use as a in the network layer, it provides both the services, whereas in TCP/IP model, it provides only what do you call connection-less services. Connection-less services. However, in both the things, it is what do you call it as packets. The data is in terms of packets, right? So here we also provide connection oriented. It's virtual circuiting. We'll come to that when we talk about physical layer. We'll discuss what are the different kinds of switchings that we have. So network layer we provides the connection oriented using virtual circuiting, and connectionless. It's what do you call it as datagram services. Okay, so that is common in both the cases where the packet is appended with source address and destination address, and it is takes its own path independently. Okay, so in the communication subnet, whereas in connection oriented, it's not like that. In prior to data transmissions, you have to establish the connection through the subnet, and all the packets will go through the same path. So that is virtual circuiting, which is a connection oriented service. And on the other side, transport layer, it's the other way. Like OSI model gives only connection oriented services, whereas TCP/IP gives both connectionless as well as connection oriented services at the transport layer. So it means that TCP and UDP both are present here, whereas here only TCP is used. The differences. Okay, so let me quickly go through the the other phase of these models. Like there are some critics. So usually what happened was with OSI model, so the time that it was introduced is not exactly suitable. Okay, so then how you define that? See, with respect to time, how the things happens is there will be a lot of research that happens, and once the research is over, we will come to some conclusions, and that conclusions will make it as a standard, and based on the standard, the manufacturers will take that and they make they bring the research inventions into products and deliver it into the market. That's how things happens. Okay, first research, then we'll make it standardized, and then we'll bring into products. But the time that this model was defined is not at all suitable. So it could not get success by the time already the products are there in the market. And it's a bad technology because there are few layers which are overloaded with the functions, and there are few layers which are with less number of less amount of implementations. Like for example, if you take a presentation session layer, the functions that you have defined, okay, when you take the implementation part, so it doesn't take much efforts. Okay, so it is possible that you can club with application layer itself, which we have done in TCP/IP model. On the other hand, if you see the functions that you defined at DLL and network layer, the implementation is very huge. So you require a lot of hardware and software things to implement the functions of these two layers. Okay, so that's a bad technology. As we discussed that in the layered structure, the functions that you are defining at each layer, but it should be, the quantity of implementation also should be uniform ideally, but that doesn't happen in OSI model. So the functions like addressing, flow control, error control, these functions are appeared at different layers. We have seen the addressing function is implemented in data link layer, so which is MAC address or physical address. We have implemented addressing in network layer, which we call it as logical address or IP address. We have implemented addressing in transport layer, which we call it as port address. We have implemented addressing in application layer, which we call it as application specific addresses. So that means addressing is one function, but it is repeatedly implemented at different layers. So that should not happen as per the layered architecture. Similarly, flow control, fast sender and slow receiver, this function is also implemented at data link layer as well as transport layer. Similarly, error control, which we have implemented in a data link layer and what do you call transport layer, even sometimes the network layer also to a certain extent. So the catch is that the functions which you are defining should not be repeated at other layers. Okay, so that is again is the layered architecture. The bad implementations, that is what we have discussed. There is no balance of the amount of implementations that you have defined at different layers. And obviously bad politics, there is a fight between the US and Europe countries that the model was they try to own the model. So that's a different thing. And coming to the TCP/IP model, the critics of this model is that the first critic is that there is no clear-cut definitions of service and interface and protocol. The reason we have discussed, because the layer itself, so the host to network layer is not truly a layer. Okay, so that's why we cannot clearly distinguish these terms. The second one is TCP/IP model is not a generalized one. Even though you call it as a reference model, but truly speaking, you cannot generalize it. So the model varies from implementations. Based on the implementations, the kind of protocols that you use also varies based on your application where you are implementing your network. So that is again is the layered architecture. The third one is host to network layer is not exactly a layer because the protocols that you are defining at the layer is not standardized. It varies from application to application. The last one is there is no difference between physical and data link layer, obviously, because both are clubbed and renamed as host to network layer. So this is about TCP/IP model. And this is another possibility, that the hybrid model where based on the applications you can go for this. So application layer, transport layer, network layer. Network layer is, these layers are part of what do you call it as OSI model, right? So OSI model, data link layer and physical layer. So only 5 layers are there. So it is neither TCP/IP model nor ISO-OSI model. So that is about the hybrid model. In the next lecture, we'll talk about the third reference model, which is called ATM reference model. Any doubts till this point? If you have any doubts, please let me know. Otherwise, we will try to wind up. Yes. Someone can respond.
No, sir, no doubt.
No doubts. Very good. Suneri Shetty, is there any doubts?
No, sir.
Sagar Reddy, are you able to follow?
Yes, sir.
Ayush Mittal.
No doubt, sir, no doubt.
Very good, very good. Pranav Narula.
Yes, sir, followed.
Followed. Why you are so sleepy mode? Pranav.
Yes, sir.
Very good. So Tarun Talreja.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, followed.
Okay, okay. Yuvraj Jain.
Sir, I understood it, sir.
Very good. Prathamesh Sanjay Shiroli.
Yes, sir.
Prathamesh. Yes. So once again, I want to remind you that these two reference models are very, very important, and make sure that the clarity between these models. Okay. So TCP/IP is a very suitable for practical implementations, whereas ISO-OSI model is ideal one. So which we supposed to follow, but unfortunately because of practical issues we are unable to follow. So this fact you should mind. Okay, so thank you so much. We'll wind up here.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
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 Yeah. Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you, sir.